The rope creaked in the morning wind. 1946, Marcus Garvey Park. An elderly woman walking her dog saw a shape hanging from the old oak tree near the park's north entrance. At first, she thought it was clothing blown into the branches. Then, she got closer and started screaming. Detective Robert Walsh was the first to reach the tree. What he saw made him understand that this wasn't just a crime scene. This was a message. A young black man, maybe 19 or 20, hanging from a noose tied to a thick branch, his feet 3 feet off the ground. He was wearing a Columbia University sweatshirt, khaki pants, one shoe missing. His hands showed deep rope burns. He'd fought, struggled, tried to free himself, but 5 men had been stronger than one teenager. Pinned to his chest was a note in crude block letters. "Coloreds know your place." This tree was visible from 3 different streets. Whoever did this wanted people to see, wanted Harlem to know that even in New York City, even in 1946, the terror could reach them. This was a lynching in Harlem, in the north. Walsh pulled out the boy's wallet with shaking hands. Columbia University student ID Thomas Johnson. Walsh felt the blood drain from his face. His partner, Detective Sullivan, walked up. "Who is he?" Walsh's voice was barely a whisper. "Thomas Johnson. His uncle is Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson." And the 2 detectives stood in silence, both understanding immediately what this meant, what was about to happen. Sullivan looked at the evidence of murder that was impossible to miss. "What do we write in the report?" Walsh thought about his 20 years on the force, about justice and law, and everything he was supposed to represent. Then he thought about the reality. 5 white men had lynched a black teenager. Even if he arrested them, no jury in 1946 would convict them. The system would fail the way it always failed. "Suicide," Walsh said finally. "We write suicide, we file it, we notify the family, and then we stay out of whatever happens next." Sullivan nodded. They cut down Thomas Johnson's body, filed the paperwork, and waited for the storm they knew was coming. Thomas Johnson was 19 years old, first-year student at Columbia University, pre-law. He wanted to be a civil rights attorney, wanted to fight injustice in courtrooms. He was brilliant, quiet, wore thick-rimmed glasses, carried books everywhere. His professors said he had one of the sharpest legal minds they'd seen in years. Thomas lived with his mother, Ruth Johnson, Bumpy's older sister, in a modest apartment on 135th Street. Every Sunday morning at 6 a.m., he'd walk through Marcus Garvey Park to get to Abyssinian Baptist Church. Same route, same time. Someone had been watching, planning, waiting. The KKK in 1946 wasn't just a southern problem. Secret cells operated in northern cities. In Harlem, a 15-man cell met every other Friday in a warehouse on East 98th Street. They worked normal jobs, mechanics, factory workers, store clerks. Nobody suspected them. On September 13th, they drew straws to choose 5 men for a special assignment to send Harlem a message. Danny Morrison, Rick Sullivan, Lou Bennett, Frank Dorsey, Charlie Ross. They chose Thomas Johnson because he was visible, successful, educated, everything they hated, everything that threatened their view of how the world should work. On the morning of September 15th, 1946, those 5 men waited in Marcus Garvey Park. Thomas Johnson walked in carrying his Bible. He never made it to church. They came out of the shadows. 5 men, no hoods. This wasn't a ceremony. This was execution. Thomas saw them, tried to run, made it maybe 20 feet before they tackled him. He fought with everything he had. His glasses flew off. His Bible fell into the grass. Danny Morrison pulled rope from his coat. Thomas was crying. "Please, I didn't do anything. Please." Charlie Ross hesitated. For just a moment he saw what they were really doing. Not punishing a criminal, murdering a teenager, someone's son. But Danny threw the rope over the oak tree branch, put the noose around Thomas's neck and pulled. The other 4 joined him. It took 4 minutes. 4 minutes of struggling, of suffocating, of dying slowly, while 5 men held the rope and watched. When Thomas finally stopped moving, they pinned the note to his chest. Then they walked away, confident that nothing would come of it, that the police would look the other way. They had no idea what they just unleashed. Bumpy Johnson received the phone call. Illinois Gordon's voice was shaking. "Boss, it's Thomas, Ruth's boy. They found him in Marcus Garvey Park. He's gone." Bumpy didn't respond. The phone felt heavy in his hand. "They're saying suicide, but boss, there was a note. KKK. Bumpy hung up without another word. He sat in his office for 10 minutes, completely still, his mind replaying every memory of Thomas, teaching him to play chess when he was 8, watching him graduate high school, driving him to Columbia on his first day, seeing the pride in Ruth's eyes as her son walked onto that university campus. When Bumpy arrived at Ruth's apartment, she was surrounded by neighbors trying to comfort her, but comfort doesn't work when your only child has been lynched. Ruth looked up when Bumpy entered. Her eyes were red, destroyed. "They took my baby." Bumpy sat next to her, took her hand. "The police said suicide," Ruth said. "My boy would never." "It wasn't suicide, it was murder. 5 men, KKK. As he held his sister, Bumpy felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years of running Harlem's underworld. Helplessness. His nephew was dead, and no amount of power, money, or influence could bring him back. But there was something he could do. "I'm going to handle this," Bumpy said quietly. Ruth looked at him. "Will it bring Thomas back?" "No." "Then what's the point?" "The point is justice. The point is making sure no other mother in Harlem has to bury her son because some men in hoods thought they could terrorize us." Ruth was quiet for a long moment. "Then do what you have to do. But Bumpy, make them understand. Make them feel what I'm feeling." "I will. I promise you, sister, they'll understand." Bumpy stood under the oak tree in Marcus Garvey Park. The police had removed Thomas's body, but they'd missed things. 5 cigarette butts on the ground, different brands. 5 different shoe prints in the dirt, work boots, factory workers probably, a button torn off during the struggle. And something else, a matchbook from Ali's Tavern on East 96th Street, outside Harlem, a white neighborhood. Bumpy found Curtis, an elderly homeless man who slept on a bench most nights. The kind of person people looked through, invisible. Curtis told him what he saw. 5 white men. They came around 5:30 this morning, sat by that tree smoking, waiting. I heard them talking about teaching some uppity Columbia Negro a lesson, the tall one with dark hair. Others called him Danny. I heard where they were going after Ali's Tavern. Bumpy called Joey O'Brien, a bartender who owed him favors. 3 hours later, Joey called back. "Got them. 5 guys came in around 7:30 a.m., drunk already, loud, bragging about taking care of business in Harlem. Names: Danny Morrison, Rick Sullivan, Lou Bennett, Frank Dorsey, and Charlie Ross. They're regulars. Come in every other Friday night, meet in the back room with about 10 other guys, the kind that wears hoods, if you know what I mean." By day 2, Bumpy had complete files on all 5 men. Where they lived, where they worked, their families, their routines, everything. He called his 4 most trusted men to his office: Illinois Gordon, Willie Lee, James Quick Jackson, and Marcus Cole, men who'd been with him through wars, through prison, through hell. 5 names, Bumpy said quietly. They lynched Thomas. Now they pay. 7 days, 5 men. Each one understands what they took from my sister, what they took from Harlem. He handed out assignments. "And when this is over, we're burning down their whole operation. Every man in that KKK cell disappears. They think they can bring Southern terror to Harlem. We're going to teach them that Harlem doesn't scare." Danny Morrison worked at an auto repair shop in the Bronx, lived alone in a small house with a garage. On September 17th, Danny was in that garage working on his car when 3 men entered through the side door. They moved like professionals, silent, efficient. They bound his hands with rope, the same type Danny had used on Thomas. Then Willie Lee threw another rope over the garage's ceiling beam. Danny's eyes went wide. He understood. They put the noose around Danny's neck. Then they lifted him slowly, let him feel the rope tightening, let him kick and struggle and feel the panic of suffocating. After 30 seconds, they lowered him, let him breathe. 3 times they did this, teaching him what Thomas had felt in those final 4 minutes. On the 4th time, they left him hanging. When Danny's wife found him the next day, there was a note pinned to his chest. 1 down, 4 to go. You knew your place. Now you're in it. Harlem remembers Thomas Johnson. Rick Sullivan started looking over his shoulder, locked his doors, but he still had to work. On September 18th, Rick came home and went to his garage to fix a broken lawnmower. He didn't notice that someone had been inside earlier, didn't notice the faint smell of gasoline, didn't notice that his emergency exit window had been nailed shut from outside. Then he saw liquid spreading across the concrete floor. His gasoline can was tipped over, but he hadn't touched it. Rick ran for the door, locked from outside. He spun toward the window, nailed shut. That's when he saw it coming through the mail slot. A lit match.